Yes, lady here, young lady here.
Hi.
Yes,
I'm
please.
a Tea Partier, and I can say that the Tea Party movement is far greater than what we even know through Fox News, because I mean, I went to 3 different Tea Parties on April 15th, and I don't
Good for
think
you.
I don't think any of them were covered in the media. I could be wrong about that. I'm talking about the local media, which is so liberally biased, you know. But what I wanted to ask you about was you were talking about having a broad base, and my concern that in order to have inclusion to lead to fusion, we'll have confusion where we don't even know what our principles are. And what do you think are the core principles of conservatism? Because my concern is that you're going to let people into the party which are going to cause its own destruction because they're, you know, they're off on some things. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, one thing, I'm talking in terms of a conservative movement. So the conservative movement is one thing. The Republican Party is something else. Now I know that most of us are probably the same, or both are not. We're both. But I'm talking about how to build a conservative movement. And when I talk about inclusion, I'm saying those people have to come in, have to agree on certain basic principles, such as limited government. And there are some, for example, neoconservatives who will say, okay, I'm comfortable with that. But if they're a big government conservative who reject that idea, then they can't be a part of the movement. But the choice is theirs whether or not they want to subscribe to certain basic principles. And I put it to you this way. Number 1, limited government based upon the Constitution. Number 2, free enterprise, the free market. Number 3, individual freedom, and I always include responsibility because I'm not a Randian. I'm not an anarchist. I believe that I have a responsibility not only to myself, but to people around me, sometimes the family, sometimes the community, sometimes even the local government, sometimes state government, and even sometimes national government. I was a veteran. I served in the Army. Number 4, a strong national defense, which after all is what the Constitution says government should be for, is to provide for the common defense. And number 5, traditional American values. And I think we have to be honest about that, and that is those traditional American values are based upon the Judeo-Christian heritage and history and of our country. Yes, ma'am.
Just want to say, with your tie to the Heritage Foundation, one of the things that is good is y'all's website, which deals with the pocket constitutions and other items.
Oh, yes, thank
So I
you.
just wanted to remind you to promote them.
Thank you, thank you.
Sorry.
No, please. And if any of you want a copy of the Constitution, I see a gentleman over here has a copy of it, let me know, and we'll be happy to send not only you one, but if, for example, if you have a school, you have an organization that you belong to, you'd like to have everybody in that organization have a copy of the Constitution, we'll provide it for you. Another, I don't want to be selling the Heritage Foundation, but if I may just say this, that another proof of this sort of what I call a grassroots revolution, or grassroots counter-revolution, if you will, going on is the Heritage Foundation. We have doubled our membership in the last 2 years, last 2.5 years, doubled it. We now have 515,000 members. And secondly, we have begun, as I mentioned to one of you all earlier, creating community committees around the country. We've never done this before. Didn't know what would happen, but the idea of trying to encourage people in the various areas, Southern California, there's one here in Grand Rapids, if I'm not mistaken, California, Florida, New York, Chicago, Oklahoma, Texas, all around the place. And we've been getting some wonderful reports. So we get them started, provide them with a speaker, and then they go off on their own. And they're community leaders like you all, making a difference in their local areas. So that again is proof that there's something going on, ladies and gentlemen. There is something going on, which is very exciting, which reminds me of what happened back in the 1960s with Barry Goldwater. I think there's some very interesting parallels of that. And so I'm encouraged, as you can tell, about the future. But after all, I must be an optimist. How else could I, as a conservative, survived in Washington, D.C. for all of these years? Yes, sir.
Yeah, some core principle that all of these things kind of fall in around, as far as a structure to how they approach the day in, day out stuff that they got to do to live their lives.
Well, one hopes that as a result of what you all are doing, for example, through your educational programs, that people are doing exactly that. But you have to be very careful. You don't want to have that idea imposed upon people. Hopefully people are going to be inspired by lectures, by activities, by association one with the other, to say, okay, I'm going to take a little better command of what I'm doing, of my lives, and I'm going to try to help. If I, for example, if I'm trying to help somebody through charity, through reaching out, through assistance in various ways, there'll be less need to have a welfare system imposed on it from the top. This is what was done in this country back in the 19th century. And it was families, it was churches, it was communities, it was civic organizations that took care of people. Now, I know we can't have them being the 100% solution, but certainly we can do a better job at that today. Why is it not happening? Well, it's because some of these institutions are not as strong as they used to be. So what do? Let's do what we can to build up the family and the communities. That's this idea of what Henry was talking about, is subsidiarity. Because if we do the job here in Troy, then it won't be need to do it up the ladder starting in Washington, D.C. Well, thank you all so very much. You've been a terrific group.
We'll be seeing you guys all again really soon. So thanks for coming tonight, and have a great evening and safe drive home. Thank you. Has Stu decided where the afterglow is yet?
It's all on you. No pressure, no.
Thanks, folks.
No.
Moose preserve.
No.
Yeah.
For the alumni program.
It's free bonus Thursday.
That's right.
It's happened. It's John R. and C2.
Oh my God.
Was it John R. Who's preserve is fun?
No, take some.
I got